Hey you guys, welcome to my little paintbrush. My name is Miss Cami. It is Halloween time and we are going to paint a sugar skull today. I am really loving this skull. It's super kid friendly. So for our younger artists, this is for you. If you're one of our older artists joining, you're going to enjoy this too because it's not super complicated, but it still has all the fun things, the colors, the glitter, the shapes. So yeah, let's just have a good time. Don't forget that you can pause this video. You can also rewind it. So if I'm going too fast for you, which that happens a lot because I keep a pretty steady pace, please feel free to pause the video or rewind. There's no shame in that, and just enjoy this process. Okay, let's dive right in. I'm going to start my painting with a decent size medium flat. Now, you can also do this with a medium round, which is probably the brush of choice for most of our smaller artists. I'm going to go ahead and use a flat, but you can use a round too. So whatever you have laying around, just go for that. And we are going to start up here in our pretty flower, okay? So here's my plate. I've got my paints all divvied out here. And I'm going to get my brush a little wet in some water. And I'm going to start with my pinks. So here's my pink color here. And one thing you want to remember during this process is we're going to lighten every color, but as we do so, be sure to save some of the dark. So I'm going to pull a little white over here, mix it into some pink, but as you can see, I'm not using the entire pile of pink so that I can have some darker left to do all of my fun shading work with. Okay. So here we've got the pink, and we're going to start with the center of our flower here. We've got this fun pink center. Now, we're going to save the black background for one of our last steps. The reason for this is if you get some of your color outside of the skull, like you go into your background, it's not going to matter at all because that's going to be black. So that's kind of a good thing to remind yourself as we're painting. Okay, if I go outside the lines here, it isn't a big deal. Okay, just like Miss Cami did there, it's fine. We'll cover it with black. All right, the other pink portion of our skull is this heart right in the center. So let's go ahead and fill that in as well. I have this traced down with a pretty dark pencil so that you guys could see all the lines on the screens. However, so some of it might still show through. Typically I wouldn't do it this dark. So if that's happening for me, just know I'm not outlining anything. It's just the pencil coming through. All right, so cute little heart. And you guys can change the design as you go. Like there's no limits here. You can change the colors too if you want to put pink somewhere else. Just you do you. Okay, before I wash my brush, I'm going to dip a corner into my darkest pink that I saved. This is why we want to save it. Okay, and I'm going to come up to the center of my flower. And looky there, I'm going to give it a nice, got a little clump there. I'm going to give it a nice dark edge. See that? So basically I'm going to take that dark edge and I'm going to make a smiley face all the way around. Voila. No issues yet. We're just relaxed. We're going to do the same thing around our heart. All the way around here. Giving it a nice dark edge. So every time I load, light pink, little dark. And round the edge we go. Now you can see when my brush stroke starts to break a little bit like that, my brush is getting dry. So that's a good indication if you're having the same thing happen to you. Remember, our paint gets thirsty and we need to be giving it drinks along the way. So I'm just trying to make sure I've got a nice dark edge up here because that kind of clumped up on me, which is totally normal. You can see I'm pushing my bristles out. And I don't go over, whenever I do this blending, I don't go over a spot once and then call it. Usually you have to go over it a few times, so don't let that discourage you either. All right, before I wash my brush, I'm going to make some purple. You can see we don't have purple, but this turquoise and this pink makes a beautiful purple. So I don't need to wash my brush. I'm going to take it over, and I'm just going to start mixing these two together. You can see immediately we're starting to get this really nice purple shade here. So I'm going to make sure I scrape all that off, maybe a little more turquoise. You could play back and forth. Do you want it warmer? Do you want it cooler? You can go between the turquoise and the pink until you get a really fun shade of purple. Okay, now I'm going to save, again, I'm going to save some of the darker for some shadowing. Okay, but I'm going to add some white, and it's not going to take a lot of purple to get that lighter version. You can see it happens pretty quick. And this little clump over here is all that I'll need for my shading. So I'm going to mix this up really good here. Maybe wipe off my brush because it's getting really loaded down now. And let's go do the purple sections of our sugar skull, which are the remaining hearts. So let's go ahead and do this. Again, you can do this with a round. I know that some of you might be more comfortable. The reason for that is the round has a point. And so a lot of times we feel like a point means we have more control. And so if you're feeling that way, just use your round. No big deal. I prefer a flat whenever I'm doing any kind of blending. And so I'm going to keep my flat as long as possible. There's going to be times during this painting that I can't reach certain spots with it. But I'm going to stick with it as long as I can. And I encourage you to do that too. Really get comfortable with your flat brush, because it can be your best friend for sure. This heart is tricky to get at my angle. My paint's getting dry, so I'm going to loosen it up with some water before I go to our upside down heart where our nose is. Okay. Again, we're just following the shapes on our canvas, and it's great practice and not cheating. I've heard so many times people say, oh, if you can't just go freehand, then you're not really an artist. Well, don't put that in your head. That's not true. Okay, so let's now dip a corner in our darker purple. Do the same thing we did with our pink. We're going to add a nice dark edge to our cute hearts here. And this is where I like this flat brush. Now, a second option, especially for our little artists, is to just outline your heart with your round brush or a detail brush. Instead of trying to get this faded edge, just outline the whole thing. Of course, we always encourage, even if we're young, to go for these techniques, because the sooner we start to practice them, the better we're going to get. However, just depending on your age and experience level, you can opt out of the blending and you can just outline these hearts and other details. We do that a lot at our studio as well, so you do what you can handle and don't worry about anything else, okay? But if you're one of our older artists, you go for this. You can do this. Cute little purple, and a really good opportunity to use your palette to create the different colors. you know, we don't need to be limited by our palette. Okay, let's wash our brush now. That was kind of fun to be able to go so long without needing to wash our brush, but we definitely need to now. And we're gonna go into our orange, okay? So I've got my orange down here, same thing I've been doing the whole time. Let's lighten some of it, keep some of it dark, okay? And this is up to you how light you go. If you want it super, super, super light, that's fine. That's the beauty of being the artist. You choose. Now this second section of our flower is this orange. And again, I just finished painting our cute ghosts. And they are pink and orange. And there's something about this combination that I am just really loving lately. I love these two warmer colors side by side. I think they're just awesome together. Remember, you can go out of your lines here up into your background because it's going to be black, and we're going to save it for last so we can totally have all that covered up. Okay, so totally just pull that in. So that part is orange, and then our little flower shape around our black eyes are orange as well. So same thing, we can go into this circle. It's gonna be black, okay? So instead of worrying so much about staying in the line, I'm just gonna go all the way around my brush. My paint is dry, so I'm mixing water in there. I'm just gonna go all the way around it and not feel like I have to be so careful. And it's a lot more freeing to be able to do that, and you're gonna get a much better stroke. See how I press my paint? I'm pressing my paint brush all the way to the end of my bristles, and I'm just making these half circle shapes all the way around that circle, okay? So this looks crazy, and for those of us that are a little bit OCD, this is gonna drive us nuts until we get the black in. Try to ignore it, okay? It's not gonna be there forever. Okay, same thing. Here we go, just going around our, now you can say, I'm making a half circle. You can say, I'm making a smiley face. I'm making a frowny face. I'm making a rainbow shape. It's really helpful to decide in our minds a shape that we're familiar with and a shape that we've already built muscle memory to. So we've already, most of us have made half circles before. And so when we tell ourselves, okay, I'm painting a half circle, our brain already knows what that is and what that means, and then we automatically can do it. So that's why I like to relate shapes. Okay, now we're gonna go do our same technique. Half of my brush goes in the dark orange, and I'm going to put in my dark orange smiley face. Okay, so I'm gonna go all along the base here of my flower center, and just like that. Really helps it pop, okay? You can just do the outline if you are more comfortable with that. Now we're gonna do the same thing. Here's my brush. We're gonna go around these, okay? Again, see, I'm just making the shape. And see how quickly I am just going around here, because you don't have to sit and stress this. Get the movement going, be confident in yourself. You can do this, and just go for it, guys, okay? Don't be afraid of messing up, because that's gonna happen. Mistakes are gonna happen, and they can almost always be fixed, okay? So just like that, we've got it going, okay? My snap finger was a little loud. Okay, now we're gonna go over here. So around we go. Not thinking too much, not worrying too much. I am having a good time. I am learning. I am not perfect. This is hand painted. This is going to look hand painted. I'm okay with that. You just keep telling yourself all these positive things. And we go around our eyes and they're just looking fantastic. Notice my brush is flat. I'm not just using the corner that has paint. I'm using all the bristles, okay? A lot of times I notice people when I say put paint on a corner of the brush, they think all they can use is the corner of the brush. That's not the case. Use your whole brush. All the bristles are important, okay? All right, that is all the orange on our sugar skull. So rinse that brush really good. Let's move on to the yellow portion of our skull. So here's my yellow. What am I gonna do? What I've been doing the whole time. Scoop up some white, mix some white into my yellow, but keep some of that dark yellow. Of course we need some of that dark yellow. I'm gonna come over to this pile. It's a good tip to separate your white into piles because this one got contaminated and I can't have purple in my yellow because purple and yellow are complements, therefore they will mud each other out, okay? So it's a good idea to kind of separate. I'm gonna give my brush a rinse because I got a little purple in it, but it's a good idea to separate your white paint into multiple piles. That way you have clean white throughout the painting. All right, now we've got our light yellow and we're gonna do our petals. I almost said bristles. I'm gonna do our petals. Again, remember, I'm not outlining anything. My pencil on the canvas is very dark. So don't let that throw you off too much. I'll try and get rid of it with a little bit of white here in a minute so it doesn't completely distract you guys from what's happening. But good tip, you know, if we're painting lighter colors, then we kind of want our tracing to be done in lighter colors. So now yellow can be pretty shy. You guys might find that you want 2 layers of yellow. So if you do, it's one of those things that you can go ahead and pause this video and do another layer. If you have enough white in it, then that's really the trick. Typically, if you have a lot of white in your yellow, you won't need multiple coats of paint. White is super pigmented. It's actually pretty strong, and so we don't need to do as many layers if we have the white. I'm going to go around though and try and cover up some of my darker lines. I just don't want it to confuse you guys too much here. Just know that this piece was created with no outlining on purpose, because you know that tends to overwhelm people. Okay, I'm going to give my brush a little bit of a rinse and let my flower dry before I go and do some of the blending, but I'm going to go ahead and do my teeth, okay? So to do that, I'm going to load my brush with white, and then I'm actually going to use my dark yellow. So I'm going to load with some clean white and then put the corner of my brush in that darker yellow we've saved, okay? And that dark edge I'm going to follow the teeth with. If you want to fill in all your teeth with white, you can. I don't. I opt out of it because my canvas is white, but you can totally do that. So I'm just going to follow the teeth, okay? Same thing that we did with the, I'm going to try and again get rid of some of that line. Same thing we did with these flowers, okay? And you can even, if you want, you can just come down and complete the whole thing like that. Maybe we'll do it that way. That'll help you get that whole shape in. So just do them like that, okay? And don't worry about that line going through the teeth. We can go back to that, okay? So just follow that and then take it all the way through to the bottom, just like that, okay? And you'll get that shape maybe a little easier. All right. Just a reminder, you can switch up the colors. You can do different colors in different areas of this painting. So if you want turquoise teeth, then you do turquoise teeth. I'm going to stick with my yellow here. They don't all have to be the exact shade either. If you have some that are lighter than others, that's totally fine. They can all have a different kind of shade to them. All right, some of that pencil there. Oh, that's looking so fun. Who doesn't love a sugar skull this time of year? And just you wait till we get to our glitter and it's sparkly. All of the fun things. Now, if you're a little boy joining us today doing this skull, you remember you can put a bow tie down here. You can do something different with the hearts. You can change up the colors. You can do it just like this. You can do it however you want, but you don't have to feel like you have to stick with my design, okay? One of my favorite things, I'm just lightening up some of these, sorry guys. One of my favorite things about teaching is seeing everyone's different pieces at the end of class. Everybody does something different, and I love that. So if you're getting inspired in a different way, just totally go for that. Okay, let's go back up to our flower petals. Load with that light yellow now. I didn't even wash my brush. It's not necessary. And then that dark yellow, and we'll do the same thing we've done the whole time. We'll just go around our petals with that darker yellow. All the way around. Give it a nice shadow around it. Wonderful. Keep going. Again, use your whole brush. Use the entire brush to get that full blend. If you don't use the entire brush, what you'll have is just a very jaggedy line, and it won't be a nice smooth transition at all. Oh my goodness, so fun. I'm going to rinse out my brush really well here and set it aside, and I'm going to go to a detail brush. Okay, so just your smallest round brush. Make sure, I always say, only use your detail brush for your details. You don't want to use it for larger spaces. You'll be tempted to because you'll feel like this brush gives you all the control. But don't fall into that trap, okay? So we're going to go turquoise now. I want to bring some white over and lighten some turquoise, but save some dark. My plate, you can see my palette is just so messy. I always have just paint everywhere. That's what it's supposed to look like, so don't worry if you're having the same palette over in your little art world here. So we're gonna do some fun like almost like leaf shapes falling around these hearts a little bit. And you can see they're not traced on there. They're not part of the pattern because it's fun to do something completely on our own, okay? So let's start down here, just kind of underneath the heart. We're gonna just put a line and then press towards the end of our stroke and then do another one, kind of flares out and then round the edge, okay? Just like that. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. So if you missed it, you can stop, you can watch, you can pause, you can rewind, okay? This one up here, we're gonna just go the other direction and shape it back down. Okay, just like that. And then we've got one more, because Miss Cami loves her odd numbers. Those are it's always good to go odd. If you've been in my classes, you know I say that a lot. It's always good to go with odd. Our eyes are more attracted to that. If it's even, it's too perfect. Okay, let's go over here, do the same thing. So now we gotta kind of do it the opposite direction. So it's kind of confusing, but I believe in you. Okay, right here. Press, round it, come back. Brushes are all about pressure. Light pressure, smaller brush stroke. Heavy pressure, thicker stroke. Okay, right here we're gonna come down. Not every single one of these are gonna look the same. They shouldn't. Okay, embrace that. Add more if you want. Don't do these if you don't want to. Do polka dots, do something else. You're the artist. Okay, so one more going up. Round it off and down. Okay. Now instead of trying to do a nice faded edge around these, we're not going to do that because the section is so small. We're just going to wash our brush, load with dark, still using the detail, load with that dark paint, okay? And we're just going to focus on sort of the under area of this and just put like a little shadow towards the bottom here, okay? If you're having a hard time doing this, you can wait for it to dry. Mine's totally fine, so I'm just gonna do it now. So you can see I'm not outlining the whole thing, I'm just shadowing. This side. And then we'll go over here. And one more up here. Oh my goodness, loving it. Okay, now I'm gonna go back into the light. I don't need to wash my brush, I'm just mixing in some water because we're gonna do the squiggly line on the bottom. It's also freehand. Do this however you want, make it different, be you. I'm gonna start in the middle. You can just watch this and then you can come back to it, pause it. I'm gonna go up, down, and curve around. Totally terrifying, I know. If your paint is thin enough, you can do this without ever picking up your brush. Let's try and do the opposite. This is where I always struggle. Yay! We did it. Okay. Oh my goodness. Wash that brush out. Okay. Let's dive into our background now. Yes, we are already there. Let's get a big flat brush, get it wet, black paint. This part's gonna go in really quickly. But just remember, you just worked super hard on your skull. Be careful when you get close to it, okay? I'm gonna start on the edges and work towards the middle, okay? See, I am not afraid of my paint. I am not afraid of my canvas. I am loading my brush. I am brushing big strokes. No fear here, guys. We are committed to our painting 100%. Okay, I can go really fast as I go around my subject, which is my sugar skull, and I can slow down when I get up close to it. Okay, so I'm just going to go for it. Wrap your edges. Get a nice completed piece, of course, we like that. Scoop that black paint. If you are not generous with your black paint, you will notice it with your canvas and it'll drive you nuts because you'll have little pockets that show up, and that's the little holes in your canvas, and it's super annoying, so make sure you're generous with your paint. Okay, now I'm moving in, right? I'm moving in on my sugar skull. I can't talk. So now I need to slow down, okay? I'm going to use my brush in a different angle, pressing my bristles, going around. How did I get that full stroke? So smooth, my paint's thin, and I'm pressing, I'm using all my bristles, okay? All the bristles. We don't want any runs, so be careful with that. Okay, pressing all my bristles, getting close to my sugar skull, being confident in myself, not scared of the canvas. I'm not scared of the black paint, even though it can be very intimidating. I'm not concerned. Okay, up we go. Now if I cut some of my sugar skull's skull, that's okay. If I cut too much, that's not okay, right? So if you're like, oh, it's not perfect anymore, you're gonna have to know when to be like, I'm okay. I'm okay. This is good enough for me, because we'll want perfection so badly that we'll keep painting and we'll just lose, our skull will shrink. And that's not what we want here. Okay, almost done. It's a pretty easy shape to follow. Okay, so it's not a complicated shape, thank goodness, because that would be really tricky with this black paint. So it's fairly easy. Just slow down, flip your canvas, rotate it, make sure your paint is thin, take your time on it. I would be flipping my canvas constantly if I could. Obviously, I'm in a situation where I'm doing this recording, and so I can't move my canvas around. But if I were painting by myself, my canvas would be flipping all the time, okay? So you can do that. Okay, before we wash our brush, we're gonna put in our eye sockets now. Thank goodness we can cover all that up just like that, and it cannot bother us anymore, right? I was getting a little bit bugged by it too. Okay guys, this is just so quickly coming together. Same thing can happen with these circles. We can lose our cute flower shape if our circle grows too much. So stay pretty committed. We can clean up a little bit, but not too much before we just totally lose our flower. Guys, are you not amazed at yourself right now? Look at our painting. All right, we have a couple more steps. I'm going to get my detail brush and I'm going to get it wet, and I'm going to go into some white paint, and I'm just going to do some highlights, guys. And this is going to go quick. This is going to be one of those steps that we don't have to think so much about. If I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause, okay? So let's start up here in our flower. Highlight, okay? See, nice and simple. Petals, highlight. Look at the stroke. Not afraid. I'm confident in myself here, okay? You gotta have that. You gotta just be willing to say, it's okay, I'm going for it. Okay, let's go to our heart. Okay, do a little highlight there. Do a few in our, I don't know what you call these, little leaf shapes, I guess. Okay, over here, same thing. Watch where you put your palm if you're resting it, because you just painted those black eyes sockets. So I always do that. I always get my palm in it without knowing. Okay, we'll do that. And then we're coming down to our nose. Right there. Highlights done, just like that. We're gonna put some in our eyes, okay? I know it's just a socket, but I still had to highlight it. You can leave this step out, but I just felt like it made my skull a little bit more friendly. So here we go. Nice smile shape. Make sure this is dry enough for me to do this side here. Yep, there we go. All right. Wash my brush. We're almost to my favorite part, which is just glittering this thing. Let's go ahead and put that line through our teeth, okay? It's on your canvas. You should be able to see it. Thin your black paint out. Make sure it's nice and diluted. And then we're going to just do our best, as shaky as we may be, to follow this line. Pick it up when you need to. Pick it up. See how I'm sectioned? Pick it up. Okay. I want that part to be a little thicker. Guys, here we are. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of glittering. I've got silver glitter paint. If you didn't buy our kit, you can find it. Go to your craft supply stores. It's there. I'm going to get a medium flat. And what I'm going to glitter... Oh, hold on. I'm not glittering yet, guys. I am just forgetting some highlights. This happens all the time. I always forget something. I'm determined this time not to forget. All right, we got to highlight our these little guys here. Around we go. Just going around. I'm not thinking about it too much. I'm not stressing about it. I'm just brightening up my skull. All these colors, you put a little white in these and they wake up. You're waking up the colors. You're saying, hey, here we are. Okay, now we're ready to glitter. This was an important step. Okay, got my medium flat brush. I've got my glitter paint. I'm gonna load it, and I'm only gonna glitter my details inside of my sugar skull. Okay, now you may want to just glitter everything. You may be just like me and you love the shine and you love the sparkle and you want to just go for it. Let me just give you a fair warning. You can have too much glitter, and let me explain it to you while I fill these in. What happens when we glitter everything on our canvas is, instead of the light catching these little sparkles and being just super gorgeous and happy and fun, is the light catches the entire canvas and blinds us. I've learned this the hard way, you guys, okay? So trust me on this. Pick what you want to glitter. If you want to glitter your background, like the black, instead of the details in the skull, do it. Just do the whole background, okay? But don't make the same mistake I did and glitter your entire canvas, because it will be blinding. You can come in here with a detail, but I'm just gonna tap, 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 tap. Just make sure everything gets a little kiss of glitter. If you did the background, you could do the black eye sockets and just have everything black glittered. That's a good idea too. So either one, but not both, is my suggestion to you. And then I like to just follow this line with a little bit of glitter. And just aqua a little. We did it, you guys. I hope you love your sugar skull. Let's sign it. Because this painting, oh, I can't sign in black. I was going for black. I always do, but that wouldn't work. I'm going to go for white. This painting and all these colors is going to really bring the holiday spirit into your home. Display it. Send me pictures. I'd love to see them. Thank you so much for painting with me. See you later, guys.